Imagine helping someone in need, and in return the world opens up to you in ways you never thought possible. Max's journey started with a simple favor, and what happened next will leave you questioning your own potential. Before we dive into this inspiring journey, tell us where you're tuning in from. If you're all about stories of personal growth and unexpected opportunities, hit that subscribe button now. We've got more incredible stories coming your way soon that you won't want to miss. Let's get started. In the heart of Riverton, a small town where the streets are lined with old oak trees and the pace of life is slow, Max Harper works tirelessly at his auto repair shop on the outskirts of town. At 32 years old, Max is a man of simple pleasures: the hum of an engine, the smell of motor oil, and the satisfaction of fixing something broken. Raised by his grandfather, a retired World War II veteran, Max has always had a deep respect for the sacrifices made by those who served. His grandfather's lessons on duty honor and the value of hard work shaped the man Max became. The shop, Harper's Auto Repair, was more than just a place of business to him. It was a tribute to his grandfather's legacy. With each car that rolled into his garage, Max felt as though he was not just repairing a machine, but preserving a piece of someone's story. The world outside Riverton may have been rapidly changing, but inside the walls of the shop, time seemed to stand still, and Max felt like he was right where he was supposed to be. One crisp autumn morning, as the sun broke through the clouds, a familiar yet weathered car rolled into the lot. It was a 1985 Mustang GT, the kind of car Max had always admired, but this one had seen better days. The paint was chipped, the tires worn, and the engine barely sputtered to life. Behind the wheel was Carl Thompson, a 76-year-old war veteran, his face weathered by years of experience, but his eyes still sharp with purpose. Carl had been coming to Max's shop for years, but today was different. The veteran had lost the use of his legs after a service-related injury years ago, and his beloved Mustang, the car that had kept him feeling independent, had finally broken down in ways that even Carl's stubbornness couldn't fix. He needed custom modifications to the hand controls, something Max was known for, but Carl's old system was failing him. "Max," Carl called as he slowly rolled the car to a stop, "this old girl's been good to me, but I think it's time for a little help. These old hands can't work like they used to." Max wiped his hands on a rag and walked over, his mind already racing with ideas. He had seen this kind of thing before. A mechanic's most important task was to restore a sense of independence to those who had lost it. For Carl, this car was more than just a mode of transportation, it was his lifeline. As Max examined the car, Carl offered him money up front, but Max hesitated. He knew Carl had lived a life of service and sacrifice, and this wasn't about making a profit. This was about giving back to a man who had given so much to his country. "No charge," Max said, locking eyes with the older man. "This one's on me. I owe it to men like you." Carl frowned and shook his head, refusing to accept the offer. "You don't owe me anything, Max. You've got your shop to run, and I've got my pride." But Max insisted, determined to do this for Carl, to give him back a bit of the freedom he'd lost. "I insist. This is personal." As Max got to work on the car, little did he know that this act of kindness would set in motion a chain of events that would change his life and the town of Riverton forever. The rhythmic sound of Max's wrench twisting bolts echoed through the quiet shop as he carefully adjusted the hand controls in Carl's Mustang. The morning sun cast a golden glow through the small windows, and Max found himself lost in the work, his hands moving with practiced precision. But just as he was tightening the final screw, a deep, throaty roar of an engine interrupted the peaceful hum of the shop. Max glanced up, shielding his eyes from the sun, and saw something that made his heart skip a beat. Above them, a P-51 Mustang, a vintage World War II fighter plane, flew low over the town, its wings glistening in the light. The sound of the engine was unmistakable, a deep, nostalgic hum that sent a wave of excitement through Max. The town had seen its fair share of old planes, but nothing like this. It wasn't just any plane, it was a P-51 Mustang, a machine that had served in the skies during some of the fiercest battles of the war. Max watched in awe as the plane soared in a perfect arc above Riverton, the wind from its wings stirring the dry leaves scattered on the street. It was a tribute to someone special, and Max quickly realized who that was. The plane came back around for a second pass this time, flying lower and slower, almost as if it was saluting the town. Max's eyes widened as the plane made its final approach, touching down on a small, grassy field just outside of town. He quickly turned to Carl, his curiosity piqued. Carl's face had gone pale, his hands gripping the armrests of his chair tightly. It was clear that the sight of the plane had stirred something deep within him. That's Lieutenant General Ethan Walker flying that plane," Carl murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "He's been a friend of mine for decades, and he's here to honor me." Max's heart raced as he absorbed the weight of Carl's words. General Walker, a living legend, was coming to Riverton. The town had long forgotten its ties to history, but today it seemed history had come back to remind them of its importance. Before Max could react, a sleek black SUV pulled into the shop's parking lot and outstepped none other than General Ethan Walker. His posture as straight as a soldier's, his face lined with experience, but glowing with respect. Behind him was Sarah Thompson, Carl's daughter, her eyes red from emotion. The general extended his hand to Max, a warm smile on his face. "Thank you for what you've done for Carl," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "Your work is more than just fixing a car, it's restoring a man's dignity." Maxie stood there dumbfounded as General Walker's hand extended toward him. The reality of the moment hit him hard. What had started as a simple act of kindness fixing Carl's car had led to this surreal encounter with a living legend. The general's deep, gravelly voice echoed in Max's ears, but the words didn't quite register at first. "Thank you for what you've done for Carl." General Walker repeated, his grip firm but kind. "You've done something far greater than repairing a vehicle. You've given a man his freedom back. And for that, Riverton and I owe you." Max's mind raced as he shook the general's hand. He hadn't expected anything like this. A simple favor to a war veteran had turned into something much bigger than he could have imagined. The weight of the general's words hung heavy in the air, and for the first time, Max questioned his role in the world around him. The general continued telling Max about Carl's past, the battles, the sacrifices, and the countless men and women who had fought for the freedoms they enjoyed today. Max listened intently, realizing that what he had done for Carl was just a small piece in a much larger picture. For the first time, he felt the full impact of his actions. It wasn't just about fixing cars, it was about restoring dignity, freedom, and memories to people who had given everything for the country he loved. As the conversation progressed, Max's chest tightened with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. It was more than just mechanical work, it was about legacy, respect, and making a lasting impact. He had spent so many years in his grandfather's shadow, believing that running a small-town auto shop was his calling. But now, standing in front of General Walker, surrounded by the echoes of history, he realized that there were larger forces at play. Carl, who had been sitting quietly in his chair, finally spoke up, his voice thick with emotion. "Max, you don't know how much this means to me. You've given me back more than just a car. You've given me a piece of my life that I thought I'd lost." Max's throat tightened as he looked at Carl now, a man he truly admired, not just for his service, but for his resilience. The bond between them had deepened in ways Max never expected. And in that moment, Max made a promise to himself he would no longer view his work as just fixing broken machines. He would see it as fixing lives. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, Max sat at the workbench, his mind reeling from the day's events. The P-51 Mustang had long since disappeared into the horizon, and the shop had quieted down again. Carl had left with his newly modified Mustang, his face lit up with a gratitude that Max couldn't shake from his mind. But now, with the general gone and the reality of the conversation still fresh in his thoughts, Max couldn't help but feel the weight of what he'd been offered. After thanking Max once more for his work, General Walker had dropped a bombshell. He had extended an invitation, no an offer. A job. The general was the head of Walker Aviation Restoration, a company known for restoring vintage military aircraft, a field that combined Max's love of mechanics with a deep respect for history. Walker had recognized Max's skills and his character, and he wanted him to join the team. "We need people like you, Max." General Walker had said, his voice calm but confident. People who care about more than just the work, they care about the legacy. Max's mind raced as he considered the offer. To work with Walker's team was an incredible opportunity, one that could take him far beyond the small town of Riverton. The thought of restoring planes, of working on machines that had flown in wars, that had carried the weight of history, was thrilling. But as much as Max's heart raced with excitement, a sense of hesitation held him back. His grandfather's old shop, the place that had been in the family for generations, still felt like home. The thought of leaving Riverton, of turning his back on the life he had built, made him uneasy. Max ran his fingers over the worn wood of the workbench, thinking about his grandfather. The man had built this shop from the ground up, passing down not just the skills of an expert mechanic, but also the values that Max held dear: loyalty, honor, and the idea that real success was built on service to others. Would his grandfather have encouraged him to take this opportunity? Or would he have wanted Max to stay in Riverton, keeping the shop alive as a tribute to the past? Max Carl's voice interrupted his thoughts. The old veteran had returned to the shop, his Mustang parked outside. "I've been thinking," Carl said as he slowly wheeled himself into the garage. "The general's offer, it's big. But don't let fear hold you back. You've got the skills, son. And you've got the heart. Sometimes stepping out of what you know is the only way to grow." Max looked at Carl, his heart swelling with gratitude. The veteran's words struck deep, and for the first time he saw the truth in them. It wasn't about staying in the same place, it was about moving forward, embracing new challenges, and making a difference on a bigger scale. "Thanks, Carl," Max said, a small smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "I think I know what I have to do." Max spent the following days in a quiet internal struggle, torn between the pull of his family's legacy and the excitement of a new unknown future. Every time he walked into the shop, the scent of grease and metal wrapped around him like a comfort. The walls were lined with tools his grandfather had used, the same ones Max had grown up with, each one a symbol of years of hard work, sacrifice, and tradition. The familiar hum of the shop and the rhythm of the work felt like home. But as much as he loved the place, something had shifted in him. The events of the past few days had opened a door to a different kind of life, a life where he could take his skills and apply them to something far bigger than what he had ever imagined. Max's bond with Carl deepened over the following weeks. The veteran came by often, not just for his car, but to spend time with Max, offering wisdom from a life well lived. Carl shared stories of his time in the war, tales of camaraderie and loss, but also stories of resilience and rebuilding. Max listened intently, learning not just about machines, but about the kind of person he wanted to become. Carl's quiet strength and unwavering courage made Max realize that true growth often came through stepping outside your comfort zone. Still, Max couldn't shake the nagging feeling that leaving Riverton meant turning his back on everything he knew. He loved the community, the people, the quiet town where everyone knew everyone else. He had built something here, something that mattered to him. But more and more, he realized that staying in the same place out of fear wasn't the path forward. His skills had been honed in Riverton, but now they were ready to reach new heights. And just as Carl had fought for freedom, Max had to fight for the freedom to grow beyond his limitations. It was a rainy afternoon when Max made his decision. He was under the hood of a vintage truck when the phone rang. It was General Walker, and Max's heart skipped a beat. The offer was still on the table, and the General's voice was full of encouragement. "The team's ready for you, Max. We need someone like you on this project. Don't let fear hold you back. You've got the potential to do something great. You just have to trust yourself." Max set down the wrench and closed his eyes for a moment, the sound of the rain pattering against the roof like a reminder of what was at stake. He thought about his grandfather, about Carl, about all the people who had shaped him into the man he was today. And in that moment he realized that stepping into the unknown wasn't abandoning his past, it was honoring it. With a deep breath, Max made the call. He was ready to take the leap. Max's first day at Walker Aviation Restoration was nothing short of overwhelming. The factory was a vast space filled with the hum of power tools and the sharp scent of freshly polished metal. Aircrafts, each one a piece of living history, sat half-assembled, their skeletal frames awaiting the touch of skilled hands like Max's. Walking through the workshop, he could feel the weight of the legacy. He was now a part of the same legacy that had drawn General Walker and Carl into the world of aviation restoration. Every piece Max touched felt like a connection to the past, to the soldiers who had flown these planes, and to the stories they carried with them. General Walker wasted no time introducing Max to the team. A group of men and women, each with their own story, their own reason for dedicating their lives to restoring these magnificent machines. Max found himself in awe of the craftsmanship around him, the precision and the dedication that went into each plane. He was no longer just working on cars in a small-town shop. He was working on a piece of history, a testament to the strength and resilience of those who had fought for freedom. The transition wasn't easy, though. At first, Max struggled to adapt to the scale of the work. The planes were far more complex than any car he had worked on, and the stakes felt higher. But with every mistake, Max learned. With every challenge, he grew. He realized that the skills he had honed in his grandfather's garage weren't just about fixing things, they were about solving problems, thinking critically, and finding innovative solutions. The same principles that had made him a great mechanic in Riverton made him a valuable asset at Walker Aviation Restoration. As the weeks went by, Max found himself not just fitting in, but thriving. He worked alongside some of the best restorers in the country, learning from their expertise while sharing his own knowledge. His bond with General Walker deepened, and he began to see the General as more than just a mentor. He saw him as a friend, someone who believed in Max's potential before Max himself did. Back in Riverton, Max knew he had made the right decision. He still visited Carl regularly, keeping him updated on his progress, sharing stories of his new life in aviation restoration. Carl's words echoed in his mind. Sometimes stepping out of what you know is the only way to grow. Max had stepped into the unknown, and now with each passing day, he was becoming the man he was always meant to be. As Max looked out over the runway, watching another restored plane take off into the sky, he felt a sense of pride wash over him. His work wasn't just about machines. It was about preserving history, honoring those who came before him, and ensuring that their stories lived on. And in that moment, Max realized that his journey wasn't just about finding his place in the world, it was about helping others find theirs too. Max's journey was a powerful reminder that sometimes the most meaningful growth comes from stepping into the unknown. His decision to help Carl without expecting anything in return led him to an unexpected path, one filled with challenges and opportunities that he never imagined. The act of kindness he showed to a fellow veteran changed his life, opening doors to a world where his skills were not only appreciated, but essential to preserving history. Max's story teaches us that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. It shows us that by giving of ourselves, whether through our time, skills, or resources, we create ripples that extend far beyond what we can see. Life's greatest lessons often come when we choose to serve others, and in doing so, we find our own purpose just as Max did when he embraced the path that called him. If this story inspired, you don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want more heartwarming stories like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community. Drop a comment below and share how you've stepped out of your comfort zone to grow. You never know who you might inspire.